Hi, hello, Ken. So,
Hello.
welcome. In your own words, can you tell us a little bit about RAK? What is RAK? What is all about?
Okay, yeah, sure. Very happy to be here. Thank you for inviting. Yeah, RAKwireless is actually we are IoT company. We very focus on the LPWAN application, low power wide area technology. So we provide end-to-end, the solution like the gateway and also the modular solution to enable people to build it and the device connect to the whole network. And yeah, so we actually IoT company offer the tools to enable the creative, people to build application on top of the low power technology. Yeah, so that's what we are offering.
Okay, so yeah, you have like two kind of like sides of customers. So what companies or industries do you serve the best? I mean, what kind of like problems you're solving for them? What like service you're offering or they should expect from you?
Sure. We have typical three kind of customers. The first one is the developer. So they can build the application based on the tools we provide, include the hardware and the firmware tools. So they can build the application. That's what we focus developer market. The second one is we actually offer our gateway, ready to use gateway with the sensor company like, LAIIER. So you actually sell the sensors to your customer, but also need to work with gateway, right? So that's what we offer our gateway as the infrastructure, work with the sensor company. The third one is we also work with the application company. For example, it's building an automation like, carrier or maybe hardware. So they have the BMS building management system. They need our gateway connect to their own system, but also they need to work with sensor company to offer the application like you guys together. So that's also we are actually working on right now. So we have three kind of customers.
Okay, and what's like the ideal persona based on like these customers, or are you looking like to expand, or have you identified like different customers but that you don't currently serve but you think like would be a good fit?
I think for RAK, we mostly is the first one and the second customer is our ideal customer, because we offer the gateway and also the so we can actually help them to deploy their solution faster, right? So that's what we focus right now. Yeah. So and also we also meet some new requirements is they actually need a plug and play solution. That's what we are start to explore right now. But majority mature market is the market we actually offer our gateway with the sensor company together to offer the solution.
Okay, so like about like a gateway and LoRaWAN specifically, like can you tell us a little bit more about LoRaWAN ecosystem's benefits and growth based on what you've seen so far?
Yeah, sure. I think one of the benefits for LoRaWAN is people can set up private network, right? They don't need to rely on the infrastructure from other. They can easily to build a private network. And the second one is compared to other technology like Zigbee, I think the LoRaWAN is very ideal for the building automation and maybe, the agriculture, something like that, because the coverage actually is very good. Well, for example, if we build one gateway in the building, in the 14th floor, we even can receive a signal in the first floor. So the coverage actually is quite good.
Okay, yeah.
And also we found another typical use case is for the indoor positioning. The customer, before they use Zigbee technology, and now they move to the LoRa because the coverage, actually they don't need to deploy many gateway, but still coverage is very good. So I think that's the benefit of the LoRaWAN fit for the building automation, smart city, and agriculture, these kind of scenarios.
Okay, great. I don't know if Matt, you have like any particular question on that topic.
I do. Yeah, I have a couple of questions. I mean, the first one is that LAIIER was launched in 2021, and we have seen over the last 2 years a huge change in the LoRa ecosystem. But RAK was founded much earlier than that, so I think you have seen an incredible evolution within the LoRa ecosystem. Can you talk about that? Because I think sometimes when I talk to people, they're still unfamiliar with LoRa and how exciting the ecosystem is. So yeah, what kind of changes have you seen since the beginning of when you started, and where do you see LoRa going in the next 5 years, let's say?
Okay, yeah, it's a great question, Mike. So yeah, so we started LoRa, I think from 2017. Actually it's from UK, London, because I went to an exhibition in London. Okay, next to me is Activity. We both is very small stand. From there, first time understand LoRa technology. And our background actually is the networking background. So my personal work in the Qualcomm before, most of my team in the networking company like Huawei and also Qualcomm. So we are very good in the Wi-Fi technology, and but Wi-Fi is a mature market, right? So that's why it's very hard for a startup to build some innovation. That's why when we heard about LoRaWAN, it's also private network technology. And also for the IoT, you can imagine connect huge of the sensors to the infrastructure. That can be a good potential market for the future. That's why we shifted our focus from Wi-Fi to the LoRa. And then we just looking for a standard technology, because until 2017, there are still multiple technology, even in the LoRa, because some is LoRaWAN, some is a proprietary LoRa, right? LoRa P2P or something like that. But we actually, the background is communication. So we always follow the standard. That's why we choose LoRaWAN. And that moment, yes, you're right. So not many companies build the sensors. Also, maybe it's very ugly, not very good look. When our team used your sensor in our lab, they saw, oh, it's amazing because installation is very easy. So you guys did a very good job. Yeah, so but at that moment, no, many sensors is not mature. But we are networking focused. That's why we start to build our gateway. And now you can see the ecosystem is huge. Many innovative company like you jump in the LoRaWAN market, and we can build many applications on top of that. So for the next 5 years of the LoRaWAN, I believe this year is very important because we saw many solid, serious POC projects coming. I think still market need more education, but this education probably is it's not the initial level of the education. Maybe goes into next higher level. For example, the customer, they need a more plug and play solution. Okay, the customer need a more solid deployment proposal. For example, I want to test the coverage. I can deploy the gateway? Always the question like this is more serious, right? So I think this year and the next year is very important because the POC is going to real deployment. And we can see many serious and critical questions are coming, but that will help for the technology evolution, right? And I think for typical use case like building automation, agriculture, and tracking, I think can be go to very, and the smart city can go to very huge in the next 5 years with more sensor jumping, with more solid deployment technology coming, something like that. So yeah, it's becoming more mature. That's my insight. I'm not sure what's the insight from Carl about that.
Well, thank you very much for that. I really appreciate it. And yeah, we see the same thing, that it is an exciting time and that there's lots of people entering the ecosystem. And I think also unique to LoRa is the interoperability between different devices, gateways, network servers, which makes it easy to mix and match to create fast solutions, which is what customers want.
Yeah, I totally agree. And another point from my side is, still LoRa is targeted for the B2B market. It's for the enterprise deployment, not the whole residential, right? So that's every industry and the enterprise customer, they probably have very specific needs, right? So that's why I think right now, I think for the LoRaWAN space or low power wide area technology space, I think still it's a blue ocean market. I mean, as long as you can provide a good service and to help serve some of the industry, you still have market because everyone needs a service. So I think that's also one of the areas RAKwireless want to work hard on is, utilize the team here, the knowledge here, and also partner like you. We can do something to make the deployment simple. We can provide some service to help customer increase the adoption rate of IoT solution. That's what we are thinking right now.
Awesome. Well, thank you. That's all the questions that I had. So I'll give it back to Dimitra.
Because you guys mentioned a lot like how like challenging and interesting would be like these 2 years, the coming 2 years. Ken, what's a big challenge for RAK right now? You think?
Yeah. So from my perspective, okay, so I think how we can provide, I mean, the RAK, we don't build many sensors by ourselves because we are more networking focused. So we choose the strategy as we working with the partner, offer the solution to the customer so they can easily deploy. I mean, we target to increase the adoption rate of the solution. That's what we are targeting. So the challenge is if we can build the solution for customer, it's really easy to use, to deploy. I think that's the challenge for RAK. And also what kind of the value layer we can build to enhance the adoption rate. That's probably we are thinking on also the challenge for sure.
Okay, great, thank you. So when it comes to partners, what are you looking for when you collaborate with like new companies or like penetrating the new industries, etc.?
Okay, so for me, I think most important is the value. When we create products, what's the positioning of this product for the market, for the user, right? So as long as we can identify and also recognize the value of the products for the customer. Yeah, so we are very, very excited to start the collaboration with them to figure out a business model, how we can benefit each other. Let me give you an example. So for LAIIER sensors, I think one of the, because I have some first-hand experience to use your sensor in some project right now. When we start to deploy the sensor first, it's very easy to install. Totally, it's very great. And the second one is, for water leak sensor, the most important is the sensitive. But but you actually has the different profile setting to distinguish the sensitive. It's very helpful. I mean, for the user, and also for customer. Let me give you an example. So for Hong Kong, the humidity is very, very strong, right? So some of the risk is the ceiling. Sometimes they will drop off. So they want to deploy some sensors to there. I mean, to detect, for example, the water leak sensors. The traditional water leak sensor, I mean, they actually not very good to deploy on the ceiling because they still need a plate to get to the water because you need to have a liquid, exceeds some 5 millimeters, something like that. Then you can discover the leak and send the signal. But for LAIIER sensor, actually, it's very good fit for the ceiling scenario. That's why the customer here is really looking forward to use LAIIER sensors because they saw the value of these products for the building automation market. So I think that I just give you an example how we see what kind of partner products we want to work with.
Yeah, that's great. Also, it's great to hear that people really looking forward to use our LAIIER.
It's a first-hand experience.
Yeah. Okay, we haven't really talked about like the founding story of RAK. So how did you guys find RAK?
Okay, yeah. So you mean how we
how it was
created the
founded?
RAK? Okay,
Yeah, how did you start RAK?
Okay, yeah. So we started RAK 2014, 15. Yeah. So when we start, we think IoT is a big thing. We should do something, right? And so that's why we have the vision as IoT made easy, right? So, but you can imagine you can make many things easy, but how we can make IoT easy? So we start from there. But gradually, we actually when we start, we just we don't know killer apps like in the mobile internet. Who knows killer apps? Like developer to decide. That's why the Uber and also Airbnb become the killer apps, right? So not Apple decide, it's actually developer decide. That's why we think, hey, can we do something for developer so we can enable them, empower them to build the application innovation, right? So that's where we start from. And we building the tools for the open source and also convenient to use and also easy to do customization, reduce the barrier, no matter the cost, also the easy to use. That's where we start.
And how much has the competition changed, you think, since you started until now?
Okay, so we actually start from Wi-Fi, but Wi-Fi actually is quite mature market. The competition is very serious. That's why we shift to the LoRaWAN. So from the beginning, actually we also built the very famous concentrated module, work with Raspberry Pi. We didn't see too many competition there because we very careful for the developer. But what we say is the competition actually is here for the industry, right? So it's make everything, every company, in this game, in this ecosystem can work more hard because of the competition. So competition is healthy. But also we can say is still the enterprise market always need a service. I mean, either the faster support or maybe continuously roadmap or maybe some customization, right? So I think competition right now in LoRaWAN is very healthy because market is very huge. Everyone can have very good area. I mean, if they can focus, right? So I didn't say the competition is the risk of a RAK. I can say competition is the engine to drive RAK works more hard for the customer, for the user.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, right. Okay, so I can imagine how you must be really busy with like, I don't know, exploring like new technologies, new partners. What's a typical day at work?
What's the typical day of the work, right? Hours or maybe day?
Yes, your typical day for you.
Okay, so actually I normally sleep around 10 p.m. or 10:30, something like that. I wake up around maybe 5:30 or 6 a.m. and do some exercise. Then I start working whole days. And from Monday to Saturday, something like that. So I like the work because for me, if I want to realize the vision of IoT made easy, I can see a lot of work I can do, right? So I like my work, my dream, and yeah, so my journey.
Of course. Okay, we know that you're an avid reader. So what's the last book you read lately?
The last book you mean is the how we can understand this.
You reading a lot, so
Oh, the book. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So I think one of my colleagues, Roy, he recommended the book to many people. I think that the book is really helpful. It's a culture map. You know, it's we are very unique Chinese company because we actually have more people outside of China. We build an international team. Most of our team from international team, most of our team member from international team is our customer before, right? We have same vision. That's why we join the company and work on the same goal together. We are very open, so that's our culture. And also we respect that the culture is most important to build a journey with team member together. So I think that's the book I can actually recommend.
Okay. If you can share, what's like a next step for RAK?
Yeah, so I think still our goal is no change. There is IoT made easy. So, but we discover the customer, they need a more plug and play solution, ready to use, and the more use case. So I think that's the next step the RAK we are working on, because before we build the tools, we empower the people to build the application. But for the market, they need a ready to use solution or maybe device. Actually, they are looking for the plug and play solution. I think that's the next step we will working on.
Awesome, great, thank you. Thanks very much. Matt, if you have like any other questions, feel free. But I would like to ask like a few questions to Carl, so we get to know him better. So yeah, hi Carl. You're an electronic engineer, but you're also involved into marketing. So can you tell us a little bit about your role at RAK?
Yeah, thank you, Dimitra. Thank you, Matt, for including me on the peer interview series. Yeah. So yeah, basically I'm an electronics engineer. So early days of my career, I was involved in product design. So from scratch, let's say from the concept, creating the schematics, building it, prototyping, EVT, DVT, pilot, mass production, EMC test. So basically all the stages, I have experience on it. So that was like the first 6-7 years of my career. And then I started to get involved with LoRaWAN. There was a startup here in the Philippines. Basically, by the way, I'm in Philippines. I'm not in China. So I'm part of the international team that Ken mentioned earlier. So I'm in the Philippines. So there's a startup here like 2018, something like that. So I started to explore LoRaWAN. And actually, we are a customer of RAK before. So we use the gateways, the RAK 831. So that's the gateway that we use. We put a Raspberry Pi in it. So basically, that's my background. And then I get out of the company, and then I do some consultancy. And then after that, in 2020, I got involved with RAK. So my role now at RAK is basically technical stuff, but not the design. So technical documentation, technical support, technical marketing. So basically all this, and maybe you can think of it as a bridge. Like there's a technical, we have a good team, design team, and then you have because you need someone that will try to talk to customers so that the technical team can focus on their work, right? So but you also need this, like me, I need to be really technically capable to support them. So I think that's basically my role at RAK right now. So I do the documentations, support, yeah, some write-ups, articles, things like that. So, but that's only on the devices side, on the modules, on WizBlock. But on the gateways, we have another team that's assigned to that. Yeah.
Yeah, I see. I mean, I am in the marketing side of LAIIER, and I can see, like how your own is really like important, especially like when you're selling to the customer and you have like the right information and the right person to write articles to give like the right technical support, etc. So what does fascinate you when exploring or identifying a potential new technology or solution? Probably as an electronic engineer.
Yeah, that's a good question, Dimitra. So actually, what fascinates me is there are new things that you do not have before because they're new, and it makes your life easy. Let's say before in the early days of LoRaWAN, you have to buy the LoRa transceiver, then you get the MCU. Usually this transceiver has 80 commands, so you program the MCU to send some 80 commands to it, and then it will transmit things like that. But right now, you can actually have a module that has the microcontroller on it and has the transceiver on it, just one package, right? So that's RUI3, basically the RAK Unify interface. So there's a lot of advantages to that. And I believe you use that in the sensor, right? In LAIIER and the water leak sensor. So there's so many advantages to that. Let's say you save space on the PCB, you save the extra power consumption, you have a longer battery life. You can, that's why I'm impressed on your sensors, because it's really small. You don't have any external antenna to it. You embed it on it. So this really fascinates me because before you need to do more steps to do these things. So that's one. And then another is that, let's say before, when you set up a network, a LoRaWAN network, you need to buy the gateway, and then you have to register to or create a LoRaWAN network server somewhere else. But right now, you can have the gateway, and then the LoRaWAN network server can be there. At the same time, the gateway has the capability to have remote update, remote over there update. It can tell you if it's down, or you can have some kind of battery power for remote location. So these solutions are actually the new things that is not available before. So, and actually these things are what we are doing at RAK. So that's why there's the RUI3, the WISDM, our battery, solar battery powered gateways. So basically those things. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So in terms like when it comes to IoT and the IoT ecosystem and world, what do you think of that? Like of the evolution of IoT?
Oh, yeah. The evolution of IoT, it will surprise you sometimes, when when I got involved to LoRaWAN, they say LoRaWAN, IoT, so they're linked together. Then I realized that, hey, the LoRaWAN devices do not connect to the internet. How it can become an IoT, right? So that's the first question that you will have. And then as you dig deep to it, you read on it, oh, there's a gateway. So the gateway is the one that connects to the internet, and then they're long range. And then as you go along, you see that the IoT ecosystem expanding. And then because of that, there are markets that emerge that will be compatible to that kind of solution, right? So yeah, for for the building management system, you can put a gateway, then you put sensors around the building. Or in the agriculture sector, you have the gateway, then you put some sensors, soil moisture sensors, weather stations. So things like these applications are actually fitted for the LoRaWAN space, which is before, well, you have to do everything from scratch. You need to create your own network. You need to consider pairing, how you do security, things like that. So yeah, it evolves. The ecosystem evolves of the IoT. Yeah.
Thanks. Matt, I don't know if you have like any questions.
I do. I have a couple of questions for Carl. So as we just discussed, we use the RAK 3172 in our Severn water leak detector, and I think the thing that I hear the most from the engineering team is how easy they find the product to use. So they find RAK's products incredibly easy to use, and that's true of the gateways as well. So I think that's not just about technical function, that's also about documentation and communication with the customer. And that is not always true in the industry. So where does that come from? Where does RAK's focus on easy documentation and really easy use come from? Because to me, it's very unique and super helpful. And yeah, certainly if Ken wants to answer that as well, yeah, happy to hear what your thoughts on that.
Oh, I think Ken should answer that. It's more of an upper strategy that we have. Yeah. Go, Ken.
Yes, yeah. So all the work is done by you, so not done by me. But actually, yeah. So I think when we start the company, one of the unique differentiation value we want to provide is the documentation, because many company they say, hey, I want to buy something from Chinese company because its cost is affordable, but problem is no support, no documentation, always, right? So that's why when we start at the beginning, we very focus on this kind of the image and the quality, because I think once we build that, it's very easy for customer to use that, right? So that's why we do that, the value. And I think the second thing is so we also know what we are focused. Like I mentioned, we are networking background, so that's why we know the gateway very well. But also we are not very expert in specific industry. Like if let us to build a water leak sensor, I don't know which sensor I can build. I just want to simulate. It's no value, right? But like you, I think like we discussed in the embedded world, actually, before you launch the LAIIER water leak sensor, actually you already have many years experience on this kind of products, right? So I think focus is very important. That's why we target to offer the gateway and the module, because we have the module and the easy to use programming tools. So the sensor company who knows the industry, they can build the sensor very easy, right? And then we partner together to offer the solution for customer to use. I think we focus on what we are good at to help us to build this value layer.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much. And I had never, it sounds silly, but I had never considered that by building the module and the gateway, you really enable an ecosystem to build on either side of that, either sensors or services on top. So that's a very nice strategy.
Yeah. Because actually, every product they need the knowledge, right? So I think that's your expertise, not ours. But networking definitely is our expertise. So that's why we hope to focus there. But also module is related to the RF, right? So that's also our expertise. That's why we build the module.
Awesome. That's it for me. Back to you, Dimitra. Thank you, Ken.
Yeah, one last question for Carl. Like, can you tell us something that you really love, that it's not necessarily connected to work? It might be connected to work, but
yeah. So in terms of hobby, I like hiking. So I like going outdoors. Yeah, it's that one. Then recently, the past few years, I got into podcasting. I read books, but right now I think listening to podcasts is a shortcut. Like in your jogging, you can listen, you're driving, you can listen. So yeah, I think those two things are usually what I do. Yeah, watch movies, things like that. But yeah.
awesome. Matt is also a runner. Like he's been running like endless marathons.
I am a runner, and I also listen to a lot of podcasts. Now I know why Carl has such a good voice for this interview, because you're well practiced.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
Sound very professional.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you both very, very much. It was great having this conversation with you. And yeah, we learned all this amazing stuff about RAK and, you know, like the ecosystem of like LoRaWAN and IoT.
Yeah, thank you for having us here. And also thank you, Mike and their team to trust the RAK products. Thank you.
Of course.
Well, likewise, we look forward to finding more opportunities together. And yeah, as Dimitra said, thank you so much for sharing all of your information and your experience with us. And yeah, we'll look forward to sharing this with people. And I hope that if anyone has any thoughts or comments, they'll post them below this when it's up on LinkedIn.
Sure. We will continue to share the practice and the feedback when we use LAIIER sensor in the field, for sure.
Perfect. Okay, awesome. Well, thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.